Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. On my behalf of myself and Drew and everyone at Matter Inform, I just want to start by expressing our extremely deep appreciation for the support that you've shown us on Kickstarter. I know that a lot of you are actually longtime supporters of Matter Inform, going back all the way to our very first Indiegogo in 2013. We say it a lot, but it can't be overstated. Our success is a direct result of the support that you guys have shown to us over the years for this Kickstarter, for our past Kickstarters, for the questions that you've sent us, the requests that you made from us for the software and product like development. Drew and I and everyone at Matterform, but especially Drew and I, feel a deep sense of gratitude for the support that you've shown us. Today we're going to show you the new Scanner 3. We are extremely excited about it. It is, everyone says what they do is a game changer, and I'm going to say it's a game changer because it truly is. This is a really, really cool new scanner, and I am extremely excited to show it to you. If you have questions while we're presenting, everyone's on mute, but you can just drop the question in the chat. We've got Alex keeping an eye on things there so that if there's any questions that come up, he can interrupt me or if that's appropriate or ask Drew to answer. But yeah, I'm going to get right into it right now. So what we're going to do, I'm going to try, I'm on a bit of a tether here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my camera so we can do a bit of an unboxing here for you today and show you what your 3 is going to look like. And let's see if I can, it looks pretty good. Show you the casing, show you the scanner, and set it up, and we're going to scan a few things. I'm going to scan a shoe and a coin. There they are right there. I have my coin already covered with some A-sub spray. Okay, so here we go. So this is the case. You can see it's got the logo embossed in it there. So this is not the actual final case, but it's very close to the final case. We're changing the internal bits a little bit. I got this cool red on the inside, which I really like. So we've got, right now it's foam on the interior. We're actually going to change that to sort of more of an like a hard foam, but because at the moment they're actually separate layers and they're glued together, and they were putting glue on the unit when it came out. So that doesn't look so good. So we're going to change that. So we have the Wi-Fi antenna. We have one of the calibration cards. The scanner actually comes with 2 calibration cards. It comes with a large one, calibration card A, and it comes with a little one, calibration card B. And you're going to see what those are for in a second. We do some scanning. Then we have, okay, you can see it's still okay. Yeah, we've got scanner, turntable, power, and then under there is the tripod. So here is 3. We have, of course, the 2 cameras, the projector. It's an aluminum case. And then the back, we have the Wi-Fi antenna connector, the magnetic connector for the turntable, an Ethernet port, power, and of course the power button. So this is a factory beta unit. You can see it's some of the glue that I was talking about there. It's on the scanner, but your scanners are going to look, I mean, basically exactly the same as this. This is a pre-production unit. We actually started manufacturing a few weeks ago. We have passed our variety of emissions tests and the electrostatic discharge tests. So that is a huge milestone that we've passed, and so we're very excited about that. And that was the last major milestone before we could actually start production. And so that's done. Production is underway. We are expecting to ship in June. So again, very exciting. Also, thank you for your patience while we took a bit of extra time to get there, but we're making sure that we're sending out something that is going to work properly and is going to be manufactured with the best possible processes. So this is the turntable. The turntable, you probably can't see this, but something that we think is pretty cool. I'm going to try to bring it close to the camera. I don't know if any of you are familiar with, I think it's Sony.
The PS5 controller.
PS5? Yeah.
It's inspired by the PS5 controller.
Yeah, so if you look at really closely on the PS5 controller, you can see all along there's a texture on it, but it's like really tiny. And it's the logo of the triangle and the plus sign and the square of the PS5's comprising their logo, and it's all over it. It makes this texture. So we were inspired by that, and we did the same thing with our logo on the bed. Probably can't see it because the
It's
camera's, yeah,
it's very small. Gives a
but
good
it's
texture
there.
surface that doesn't let your parts slip off.
Exactly. Yeah, we're pretty stoked about that. So that's the scan bed. I'll put that over here, and then we have power, and of course it comes with a variety of power adapters for different countries, and we have the tripod, and we have the calibration card stand here. So there we go. So on the production box, the production case, it's going to be packed slightly differently, but more or less same experience. I'm just going to move this out of the way here. Okay. So let's set things up. Open up my tripod. So it's standard tripod mount. So, for scanning larger objects, for example, like our motorcycle scan that Drew did, we used a larger tripod for that. And, it's just a matter of getting the tripod and connecting it because the connector is the same standard type of tripod connector. So there you go. All righty. Plug in the antenna. So one of the things that we want to make sure people do is when they're putting the scanner away, putting it in its case, that they unscrew the antenna. It has a little pouch to hold it. If you leave the antenna connected, if the case gets banged in just the right way, it might actually break it. So want to make sure people take it off. But otherwise, it's all good.
We should say we're worried about it, although our drop tests have shown that it's okay. We did leave a spot in the case so that you can leave the antenna on. We know how that's convenient for most people, but we encourage you to take it off.
Power here. Okay, now obviously, I think all of you know that this is it's an IoT device, as it were. It has Wi-Fi and an Ethernet connector. Now, I am actually in a co-working space today. The Wi-Fi password changes here every single day, so I actually use an Ethernet cable. And so I'm actually just going to basically connect an Ethernet cable directly to my computer, which is right here, and just plug it in the back. But when I'm at home, I always use Wi-Fi because my Wi-Fi password doesn't change on my router every day, and it works really well. It's really quick. So even like opening, like say a project that's maybe say 400 megabytes, it takes maybe 10 seconds, 15 seconds to download and get ready. So really, really good. All right, so let's get our turntable out here. Alrighty. Okay, so the cord plugs in. It's actually said it's a magnetic connector, and so it just sort of clips in like that. Just comes off, clips in. Very easy to do. All right. Okay, and I'll start this up. So when it starts up, you can see it's going to project the logo. Let me just change this here so you can see that. Yeah, it projects the logo. And what it's going to do, it boots up. It checks for updates if it has internet access, which at present it does not. And then it installs those updates if they're there. The installation for the updates is actually super fast. It's not like you're going to be sitting there on a Tuesday night with Windows Update waiting for half an hour, although Windows doesn't do bad anymore for that. But nevertheless, the update check is like pretty quick, and the installation is usually a minute, maybe less. All right, so then what you get is this screen. I don't know how well you can see this. You cannot see it at all. Let's see if I can project this here. I'll change the camera. So
A
you
little
see?
bright there. There you go.
Yeah, it's a little bright, but professional quality production values here, my webcam. But right, so what you're seeing here is, of course, our name and logo. Connect to your scanner. It tells you we have an Ethernet address. It's 169.254.104.89, and it's on Wi-Fi as well. Well, Wi-Fi is an option. It's currently not connected to Wi-Fi, which is why it doesn't have a related IP address. And then, of course, you have the server and the front end versions of the software. And you can usually, depending on local computer conditions, you can use matterinform.local to connect to the software. So something to be, aware of it, and I think a lot of you probably know this, but I'm going to reiterate it anyway. The software is built into the scanner. It's like a completely standalone system. So when you're connecting to it, it's not on the internet. It's not like a cloud service or software as a service. It's completely built into the software, the scanner. It actually has its own web server in the scanner. So when you're connecting to it, you're connecting to the web server on the scanner, and all of the scans and all the processing, they all are stored on the scanner as well. And it actually, we built the software from the ground up. We knew the kind of things that people had been asking for a scanner from us for years, and we wanted to make sure that we covered off as many of those as we possibly could when we made 3. That's why it has an API, for example. And it's also why the software is actually built into the unit. So you don't have to go download it and make sure you've got a really powerful computer to run it, because it runs on the scanner. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So I've got my scanner set up physically now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the software. And first, I'm going to share my screen. All right, here we go. Okay, so I am going to go to the 3 website, or yeah, there it is. All right, so I'm going to full screen this here. So that's okay, Drew. You can see that okay?
Yeah, we're looking good.
All right, good stuff. Okay, so this is the software. Now, again, I've full screened this, but this is actually a website. So you can see I've got the IP address right here, 169.254.104.89. Now, that would be a different IP address, of course, if I was on Wi-Fi. It would be an IP address allocated by the local Wi-Fi server. But because I'm directly connected with an Ethernet cable, it goes in the 169 range. Okay, so let's set this up. So I'm going to scan. The first thing I'm going to scan is that shoe over there. So let's start a new project. Call it AMA Day. Create project. Okay, so we have no scans here yet, but let's add one. So click
Could
add.
just take a pause for a second. We have a good question here.
Oh yeah, sure.
Question from Cornelius, just saying, how much storage is on the scanner, and do we need to worry about running out of storage?
Great question. And yeah, actually, it's funny. When I started talking about building the scanner software into it, I had meant to mention that, and then I totally forgot. So there's 16 gigs of storage on the scanner. And now I know that doesn't sound like a lot for the current days. However, we built the scanner software from the ground up. And because we did that, because we wrote it to be on a fairly small computer that's built into the scanner, right? Like this isn't a gaming computer. This doesn't have a 64 gigabyte video card in it. This is a reasonably powerful, but not ridiculously powerful computer in there. So we had to make sure that it was going to be able to process the scans, store the scans, do the scanning itself in a timely fashion. Like no one wants to sit there and wait for 20 minutes for it to complete a scan. And if there's 2 scans in there and they're each like 2 gigabytes, of course, we were running out of space almost immediately. So we built the software from the ground up. The team did a fantastic job, and they found ways to make things more efficient. And so although we have 16 gigabytes, that actually equates to about somewhere in the vicinity of 400 to 600 individual scans. So you have a lot of storage for a lot of scans, a lot of data on this device itself. And of course, when you want to download the scan off the device and take it to your computer to 3D print it, or you want to take it into a CAD software or some design software or whatever it is you want to do with your scan, you can just export it from the software here, and we're going to do that in a bit when we have some scans, and use it. And so that's the answer to that question.
And one more thing just to add to that, Trev, is Trevor's using a early version of the software. We're developing stuff that's a little bit beyond what he's got here. One of the things that isn't in his current software is the exporting of projects. And so that'll be in the next release. So you can actually archive your projects off of the device and then re-upload them if you need to later on. So you can manage the storage if you do ever find yourself running out of space. Although I will say that on my dev unit, I have yet to delete a project, and I scan all the time, every day. I mean, I do delete them on occasion, but I never run out of space. So I doubt that most normal users are gonna find themselves in any sort of predicament there.
Okay. All right, let's add a scan. All right, so we're going to set this up. Let's it's a little bit easier to see. Okay. So you can see I am now looking at the scan setup screen. I'm just going to try and get this out of the way. Put it up there. And all of this stuff is kind of in my way as well. Okay, I'll move this out of the way. Okay, so we have a variety of settings here, and I'm going to go through them. Now, as Drew was saying, this is not the production. I mean, it is going to be the production software, but it is not the final version. It's not the release version. We have lots of things, well, not lots, but we're working on bugs. We're finishing features. By the time it releases in June, they'll all be done. But in the meantime, there's some things that are missing. For example, we have the tutorials here in the help. That stuff, the infrastructure is built for it. So, you can go through and know what capture, turntable, and camera, what these settings are, what you're supposed to do with them. That stuff will all be present in the software when you receive it, but it's not there right now. The infrastructure is there, but the content isn't there. So that's coming. But in the meantime, I know what they do, and I'm going to tell you all about them. So we have the camera feed here, as you can see, and then on the bottom hand, you have bottom right-hand corner, you have the other camera. So you just switch between them by clicking on the one in the bottom right-hand corner. So the first thing we need to do is make sure that the scanner actually has the view of the entire shoot. So currently it's being cut off a bit. So let's arrange this a bit. Here. And you might notice that there is a touch of a lag there. That is actually a bug that was fixed this morning, but I haven't got the update in my software yet. So don't worry, when you guys have your scanners, they're not going to lag like that. Here. The good news is that it's just in the interface here. It doesn't actually affect the scan. Okay, there we go. That looks good. So I can see the whole shoe in both. So that one's a little bit off. All right, there we go. That looks good. Okay, cool. All right, so now, the whole shoe is in the scene. Now, part of the power of 3, one of the main reasons that it's so special is that you can scan this variety of object sizes, right? And we have the example on the Kickstarter of a loonie, the $1 Canadian coin, and sitting on the back taillight of a Yamaha Vino scooter. So that's an actual real scooter. It belongs to Drew's wife. He brought it into his garage and he scanned it. Part of the reason that we can do that with 3, the reason why it's not locked into a particular object size like so many other scanners is because the cameras are focusable. So this was a massive technical challenge that we undertook to put into 3 because we knew how much kind of flexibility and how easy it would be for the users to have that. So Of course, it comes with some pretty hefty calibration requirements, but we developed a calibration routine for the factory. It's actually using a robotic arm that will do that for us in advance. So you don't have to actually go through the calibration routine to do the cameras. There is a short one for the turntable, which I'll be doing in a minute, but it is painless. But the focusable cameras give you the power to be able to look at a little coin, or to 700 millimeters is your kind of maximum scanning distance. You can start to scan larger objects by you get them in pieces. But you can focus on that thing that's 700 millimeters away, or you can focus at something that's only 220 millimeters away, and actually see what it looks like properly because it's not blurred. And so with a lot of scanners, you're going to try and hold it. We talked about making it handheld. We decided against that because you've got this situation where you're trying to hold it in just the right distance from the object to keep it within its focal range, while you're also looking at the screen of the computer as well to make sure you're not getting it wrong and not going too fast so that it loses tracking. When you're dealing with 3, you don't have to worry about any of that. It's not a problem. So you can just focus the cameras using the software. Now, there are other scanners that are desktop that you have a focusable cameras, and typically you would like, they're manually focused. You use you turn the lenses themselves, and that's fine, but that's not the way we chose to do this. For us, you have this orange box here in each of the images, and all you do is click on the area that you want to focus on for that box. So it's going to focus on there. There we go. So now we have focused cameras. What that means is we're going to get a clear scan. We're going to capture the details that we're actually looking at because it's not blurry. This makes a huge difference to the quality of the scans and gives you a lot of flexibility about the sizes that you can capture. So we're about mid-range at the moment. Yeah, Alex.
Just going to interrupt here. There's a question about the lighting in the room from Alexander, whether it's just fluorescent overhead.
It is. I have 2 fluorescent lights overhead, and that kind of is a wonderful question to talk about ChromaSpec. So, another problem that people have with scanning is, of course, the lighting conditions and trying to get the lighting just right or protecting the scanner from lighting. With 3, it is not a problem. You don't have to worry about it. It will work in pretty much any normal lighting conditions. So if you're in a classroom, for example, we have a lot of education customers who, of course, the students are scanning in classrooms, or you're at home, or you're in an office, or you're in a workshop. Like we regularly use the scanner in all of those environments, and it's never a problem. And this is partially because of ChromaSpec. And so ChromaSpec is actually like a process we developed to analyze the images coming in from the scanner's cameras across the full visible light spectrum, and to maximize the ability to grab different colors off of the object, grab the geometry off of them. If you're familiar with certain blue light scanners, you'll know that certain colors just simply are invisible to them. Of course, with Matterform, we're a white light scanner, and we have ChromaSpec. It makes the difference that you get all the colors. Very often it'll capture black as well. Not every time. It depends on the surface texture, and kind of there's a variety of shades of black, but it will do it. And yeah, it's great. And it doesn't really matter what lighting you have. I mean, I've never actually tried scanning in pitch black. That might be an issue. I don't know. But certainly any kind of normal lighting. Yeah. Well, what's it like?
And it works great. We do have another question here, a comment from Elizabeth, that last time we put out an announcement was that we were shipping at the end of February, or manufacturing at the end of February, and that we were shipping at the end of March. And now we're hearing that it's shipping in June. So thought maybe you'd speak to that, Trev.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I recognize the first thing that we said, we were shipping in January, right? That's what it said on the Kickstarter. And then of course, delays, and it's an unfortunate reality of building this type of stuff, that there are always delays. And for us, the big delay was getting the testing done for the international certifications for electrical safety, for electrostatic discharge, handling that. electromagnetic interference, handling that, coming in and out. And unfortunately, the reality is it just took longer than we hoped it would take. Not because it was not safe or because there were, major problems. It was just about the length of time that tests took, and then identifying the changes that were required and making those changes. They all kind of just added up, and we ended up going through a few different partners to get this done. And those partners are all they're all in China, and sometimes there would be a little bit more. It was difficult for us to explain precisely what we were after, and that added to some length to it as well. In any case, I do think we had mentioned in one of the more recent updates that it was going to be beyond March. And if we didn't, I apologize. I actually don't remember. But yes, I will say, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think we actually said anything. I think, yeah, I apologize for that. It's only in the last really 3 weeks that we figured that it would be June. But so I apologize for that. I can only beg for your patience. But the flip side is that the standards are passed, the unit is functioning properly, and it's going to be carefully manufactured. And even like the small details, we really care about those. For example, the case itself, we had to change the design of the case. We thought we had it finished, and then when we got the first test units, and we're pulling them out of the case, there's glue on them, and it's because the layers of foam are glued together, and the glue was squeezing out the edge, and then it was the scanner's stuck there, and it's getting on the scanner. So we had to redesign the case. That adds 4 weeks. 4 weeks to make the redesign, do a test thing, look at that and say yes or no, it needs to change in this way or that way. Then you add 2 more weeks. The time for every little change just adds up. However, the last major hurdle, of course, were the certifications. We have them now. We have the drafts. Actually, they arrived today in our email, but we knew that they had passed about 2 weeks ago. So, touch wood, we don't think there will be any more delays. At this point, any other questions? I know there's a lot of things in chat there. Anything else?
Yeah. Yep. So what's the maximum power of the turntable in terms of weight that it can bear? And I can actually answer this one. So when we designed the turntable, we designed it to take up to 20 pounds. But we spec'd it. So they're tested with 20 pounds on them. Can actually turn 20 pounds total on the bed. Although it is still a light duty turntable. So, I think in our specifications, we say it's slightly less than that, just to make sure that people aren't pushing it too far. I will say this though, in terms of the durability of it without it turning, I can actually, I'm not encouraging this, but I can actually stand on it without breaking it.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so it's very well designed. But in terms of the power on your desktop, you can absolutely put around 9 kilos on it. Anyways, there is another question here, and we're sorry, just asking if we can put a revised timeline on the update, and yeah, we will do that. We'll update the timeline that's on our site and on the Kickstarter so that people have better transparency. I do appreciate that, Elizabeth. I'm sorry, and to everyone that's waiting, I'm sorry. I will say that I'm very confident that you will love what you get. It's a very high quality product. I'm made personally sure that everything is going to be satisfying for everybody. So I hope you'll feel the same when you get it.
Okay. Okay, so let's do our scan. Okay, so I'm going to go through the settings here. So we have capture with low, medium, high, capture texture, and advanced settings. So what we're looking at here essentially are the camera resolutions, low, medium, and high. Basically, high, of course, is the highest resolution. You're going to have the most points, the most 3D points, and therefore the most detail. However, it's not necessarily always the right choice. It depends on what you're scanning. medium and low often give as good a result, as sometimes a better result, depending on what you're scanning. And for example, when I do a lot of demos with the software for reseller partners, and I always scan the shoe on low. I'm going to scan the coin on high, but I always do the shoe on low because it does a great job and it's fast. So, you know, I'm going to go on low here, and then later on when we do the coin, I'll go on high. And so there is a difference. It's about a factor of 4 to 5. So if it takes a minute on low, it'll probably take 5 minutes on high. But that's to do several turntable scans and process them and finish. So let's take a look at low for now. Texture is color, of course. So I'm going to turn that on and capture the color of the shoe. And then advanced settings, you have some options to change where the focus is, stuff like that, change the digital gain. I'm going to come back to that in a bit when I do the coin, but right now I'm just going to leave it as they are. So then we have the turntable controls. So the first thing is, of course, it has an on and an off switch. If you don't want to use the turntable, you can just turn it off, and then of course it will not use the turntable. But I'm going to use the turntable. So we have this circle that represents the turntable, and then these green dots surrounding it, which indicate how many times a scan is going to be taken. So basically the turntable turns to a green point, takes a scan, and then it turns to the next one, takes a scan, turns to the next one, and continues until it's done a full 360-degree rotation. So you can set the number of scans it's going to do with this slider. It can do up to 24 or as few as 1. I'm going to do 5 because I've scanned this shoe quite a few times, and I know that 5 gives a good coverage. This is going to be the kind of thing that you kind of learn how to use it for the particular object that you're scanning. And it really will come with experience. We'll give some guidelines in terms of how many scans you should do, but, roughly speaking, I would err towards fewer just because it's faster, and then seeing what your results are like. And for example, if I did, say 4 scans and I'm like, you know what, it kind of missed an area. I'd like to get more of that. So I'm going to try again, do 5 scans and see what that looks like. Maybe that's better. The sweep controls how much it's going to turn, how much the turntable will turn. So, you can turn as little as 5 degrees, or, you can do a 180 kind of thing. And you can see that the number of steps, the number of scans that are going to be performed are filled to within the amount of overall rotation it's going to make. I am going to do the full 360. Okay, so that's the turntable. We're going to come back to this recalibrate button here in a second. And then finally, we have the camera. So basically, the camera, you want to change your projector brightness to be 100%. And I'm just going to come out of here for a second and go back in because it's lagging again. You want to increase your projector brightness to make it nice and bright. And then you want to back off your exposure and gain so you do not have this red stuff on your object. So the rule of thumb is basically make it as bright as you can without getting a bunch of red on the object that you're scanning. The red means that it's an area that's not going to scan. We are probably going to improve this UI a little bit by adding like a blue color as well. So where is blue, you will actually scan, and where it's red, you won't scan. So you can actually get a visualization and change these values around until you get blue and no red. And it gives you a kind of a heads up beforehand. Before you start the scan, what kind of scan you're going to receive. And there are certain cases where maybe you want to get, like, for example, if you were scanning something that was like black and white, you'd have to change the exposure differently to get the black area from the white area. And so if you changed it to get the white area, you would only have blue on the white. If you changed it to get the black area, you'd have red on the white and blue on the black, if that makes sense. It's kind of hard to talk about or really visualize unless I can show it to you. And of course I can't because it isn't in the software yet. But the upshot of this is make sure that it's as bright as you can make it without any red, and then you're good to go. All right. So I'm just going to take a pause there. Any questions at this point? Because I just went through how you set up a scan, and so that tends to generate questions. So I'll just take a pause. Any guys, anything that I should answer?
Nothing specific. We're just talking about making sure we're going to give some more examples of metallic and industrial parts I said we'll for sure add those to the next post. So anyone who's looking to see something more industrial, we'll scan some stuff, make sure it's in the next post. I'm actually working on a project right now that I think you'd be very interested in, so I'll definitely add those into the next post.
Okay, cool. So now we have our scan set up. We've focused our camera on the shoe. We've chosen our scans entity. We've set up our turntable and set up the camera stuff. So now what we have to do is we have to calibrate the turntable. And so I'm going to do that right now. So you click the recalibrate button, continue. So you can see it's detected the turntable, but it hasn't calibrated, it hasn't detected the card. So I have to add the card into the scene. So what I'm going to do is do that right now. So I'll move the shoe out of the way here. So we have these two cards, as I said. I'm going to use the larger card right now because the scanner is a fair distance, kind of a mid distance from the scan bed, so it can see most of the card in the images coming back, and you can see now the calibration card is detected. So I will calibrate, and it will make sure that it's calibrated. And so what it's doing right now is basically figuring out where the turntable is relative to the scanner. Because it's optional, because it's on a wire and you can move it around, and it's not like physically part of the same unit. It makes it very flexible, but it also means you have to calibrate it. But fortunately, the calibration is super fast, and now it's done. So that's all there is to it. Now, at this point, if you go and move the turntable around or you refocus the camera, you do need to calibrate it again. But I'm not going to do either of those things. I'm just going to leave the turntable where it is, put the shoe back on, and do my scan. Okay, so let us start the scan. Oh, wow, my screen is super laggy.
There is one question about accuracy. Maybe you could speak to that while it's scanning. There was just wants to talk generally about accuracy for reverse engineering.
Okay. So the accuracy is directly proportional to the distance the scan is taken from. So our range of accuracy is, if you remember, the best accuracy that we do is 33 microns. And that is when, of course, we're using the high resolution scan camera setting, and we're close to the object. So, the sort of minimum distance is 220 millimeters. So that's where you're going to see 33 micron accuracy. I will say that I often get better than that, but we're not going to be. We don't want to be like, oh yeah, it's 10 micron accuracy, because it's a bit, a little bit silly to be talking about those kind of figures when you're talking about a 3D scanner. However, 33 microns, we always get that, and we get that. Sometimes I even get better than that. So yeah, now the maximum distance, as I said, is 700 millimeters. There is, of course, 33 microns. You're not going to get that level of accuracy at that distance. But again, it depends partially on what you're scanning as well. But it's, I can't remember the accuracy at that distance. Drew, do you remember what it is off the top of your head? I think
Sorry,
it's
what distance?
at the 700 millimeter distance. Is it 150? Is that right?
I'll get back to you. Let me look it up.
Okay. Okay. All right. So there we go. One shoe. You can see. Okay. So let's take a look. Talk about what we're seeing here. So we have the upper part of the shoe, and it's all these different colors. So we have that's related to the scan setup here. So we have a turntable group 1, and of course it has a visibility toggle, and then it's individually it's comprised of 5 separate scans. So we set up the turntable to go to 5 locations and scan, and these are the 5 scans that we received. They're each having their own color, so you can see individually the individual scans that are comprising the total scan. And if you want to, you can actually edit them individually as well. We have some selection and cleaning tools here that allow you to remove it or well, remove areas from the scan if you feel like that's necessary. Let's undo that.
Just getting back to the accuracies here. So, you know, most scanners are going to have accuracy and point distance. That's typically how people are looking at the two numbers. So for very close range, for about 220 millimeters away from the scanner, you're going to be looking at your best accuracy and your smallest point distance. So that's you know, like Trevor said, it's about 33 microns, and your distance between points is roughly about the same, is to about 40 microns. At the farthest distance or farther distance, you can go slightly farther than this, but it's not as practical. 700 millimeters, so it's almost, you know, 3/4 of a meter. You're going to be looking at around 100 microns in accuracy, slightly below. And your point distance is going to be closer to about 120 microns, depending on the settings that you have. If you are on a lower scan setting, your accuracy stays the same, but your point distance will increase because you'll have less density through the scan settings. There is one new question here from one of our members here. Is there automatic marker align feature on complex parts?
Okay, so no, there is not. So we're not scanning with markers. It's just not something that we needed to do. I think Drew and I have talked about this a bit, and Drew is the technical lead here at Matter Informed. So maybe Drew, would you mind kind of exploring that a little bit? Like, we talked about some plans around how we might address that, or address large object scanning where markers would typically be necessary.
Yes.
But I don't want to promise anything here. So why don't you take that?
Yeah, sure. Currently, there's two features that are already available for aligning scans. One is automatic and one is point picking. And these are based off of the geometric features of the object that you're scanning. So in case of Trevor's shoe here, there's unique points about the shoe that we can look at and align the two scans together. So for example, the two scans that Trevor has both have the laces at the top. So the system will look and see, yeah, those are both laces, and align them that way, and then run a refining alignment to make sure that they match together.
So I'm going to do that right now. Actually, I'm going to do the auto alignment. So I'm going to pick the first one, continue the aligning scan, continue, and then it's doing the aligning. And just one more thing, want to just remind everyone what we're seeing here, this auto alignment, the scanning, this is all happening on the scanner. I know we're looking at it on my computer, but there's nothing installed on my computer. This is just a website. Everything, all this processing and stuff happening on the scanner. Go ahead, Drew.
So the auto alignment does a little bit more work than the other ones because it's trying to be automatic. The point picking lets you be more specific. So in the cases where you have some scans that might be geometrically symmetrical or more difficult to pick out unique features, then the auto alignment is going to have more difficulty. So you can imagine like a can or a cylinder is not going to align. It's going to have a tough time to know which orientation it goes. So the point picking lets you do that. In the future, there's absolutely, we've already tested this and built out some features, but we just don't have a front end or a really good use case for it yet, is to support the standard markers that all scanners use. And that would work alongside with the alignment features that we already have, and allow you to align things in a flow for larger objects. So like the motorcycle, it's very difficult for me to capture the motorcycle in a single scan. So we need to do lots of closer scans that overlap with each other and then align those sections up. So that's where the scan markers would come in a lot handier. But I personally hate those scan markers. I know they're really, they can be really expensive, although we don't need the expensive ones. You can get away with the cheap ones for sure. It's still something that you have to buy and place on your object, and it's just a pain in the butt. So alignment is something that's like obviously very important. What Trevor's doing right now is the point picking. That's pretty simple and very very intuitive. You pick the four points on each, minimum 4 points on each scan, and making sure that they match up, they correlate. So 1.1 goes to 0.1 in the same place on both. And then once Trevor finishes picking his 4 points, there's a refine button. This flow changes a little bit in the newest software, but it's basically the same concept. Hit the refine button, computer will align everything, and then hit the done button and it'll go back. So that's what we have currently. There will be some new stuff for sure in the alignment. If there's something specific that you want that I haven't talked about, like supporting other types of markers, please let us know and we'll definitely look into it.
Thanks, Drew. I'm going to add something to this as well. Drew's talking about adding features, and I've mentioned that as well. And something that I want to mention, make very clear for everyone, is that for Matter and Form, this scanner is like, also honestly, it's the culmination of like a decade of being interested in making 3D scanners. Like, this is for us a huge milestone, a huge accomplishment. We're just really pleased with it, and it's not the kind of thing we're going to release it and then we're done and you guys enjoy it, but we're not building any new features. It's not like that. We have quite a list of feature ideas and expansion ideas for the software that we're going to be working on. And so when you get your 3, it's going to be great, but that's not the end of it. Like, you're over the next year, 2 years, you can expect that you're going to see new features, really cool things coming that are just added to the software that you don't have to pay extra for, and they're just new stuff that you can do. And yeah, so we're really excited about that. It's not just like we're going to be like, okay, we've done that, now on to the next thing, and we'll make a new scanner and it's even better, and everyone else will wish they had bought that one. That's not how this is going to work. We are really, really excited about 3. We're really excited about the software can do, and we have a whole bunch of plans to make it even better after it's actually available to purchase. So that's something that I'm very excited about. One other thing I want. Go ahead, Drew.
Sorry, just a couple of new questions here. I'm going to get back to alignment in a second because there's another additional. But one really quick question is the software subscription model, and are all software upgrades free?
Yes. So not a subscription model. It's part of the scanner. It's in there. You're not paying extra for it. It's not software as a service or anything like that, or
we would
cloud.
never do that to you guys. We're makers like you. We hate that stuff.
Yeah, it's annoying. I mean, there's a world where it makes sense to charge for software as a service, and Matter and Form scanning is not that world. There's no extra charges. You bought it, you own it, and when we make upgrades, you're going to get those too. What was the other question?
So the other question is a little bit more about just alignment. Was the maximum number of scans the scanner can align at one time?
Oh, okay. Well, it's okay. So it's you align. Okay, so they accumulate. So you have 2 scans that you're aligning, and then you've got those 2 aligned. And then you would want to group those together in the scan settings, although you don't have to, but then you would align a 3rd scan to those, and then a 4th scan to those. So you're always adding 1, but the group is cumulative. So you're not really limited. Well, you're not limited to how many scans you can add to the alignment.
I'll just add a little bit to that. Yeah. On the bike, I had over 140, I think about 150 scans for the bike, it was a serious project. Like, I don't encourage people to take on projects like that until you're very comfortable with the scanner and it's something that you enjoy. But with and it was a very early days in the software too, so it was a little bit more challenging. But even then, the alignments were done in groups. So I split up the project into 20 to 25 scans each, and in the software you can add them into groups just like you can files into a file folder, and then you can align those folders, those groups, to each other. And that's, so it's always one-to-one, but it's one group to one group, or one scan to one group, etc. And there isn't really a maximum until you hit until the project is really quite large, and then it just takes more time than normal. It slowly gets, as you get high up in those numbers, the processing time does take a hit a little bit. So it's a project that it might be better suited for more extreme cases. But for everyday scanning, you're not going to have any problem with groups and alignments sizes at all.
Okay. Other thing I want to mention about the point pick alignment as well is that it actually can be done with the texture. So it doesn't really make any difference for the shoe because it's, these are not the final textures, by the way. They're just preliminary unblended textures, but you can see the colors are on the shoe. But if you're scanning something like that, again, we were talking about something symmetrical, like a sphere or a cube or a cylinder, every area is the same as every other area. And of course, if you're trying to do an auto alignment on that, it's going to align the points to the points. So it's not going to know that this side is actually the top and this other side that looks exactly the same as the first one is actually the bottom. So when you have something like that, being able to align also using the color, the texture, is actually really helpful. And so, months ago when I did the Rubik's Cube scan, the way I aligned the various scans together was in here, but using the color, so that I was making sure I didn't align like the yellow to the orange kind of thing. I could make sure that I was aligning yellow to yellow and orange to orange. So it's just a little bit of extra help. Okay, so yeah, so at this point you just click refine and it would do a rough alignment based on these 4 points, and then of course it would do a more iterative, careful alignment afterwards to get the points to kind of mesh up nicely. But I'm not going to bother with that because we've already done auto alignment. So there's our completed shoe. You can see it all is together here. And so at this point, we have a non-watertight mesh based on the actual 3D points that were coming from the scanner. So if you want that kind of raw scan and you want to export it, you'd export it from here. You go into the export menu here, and then you would have an option of a variety of different export formats to export it from. Now, at this point, though, if you wanted it watertight, we're going to go to the next section, which is the merge scan. So let's do that.
Before we do that, I have some more questions.
All right.
So quickly, can we scan people?
Yes, we can. So we actually did that on a request during the Kickstarter. We scanned Drew's wife. So yeah, it's the process is
to her dismay. She doesn't like being scanned.
The process is, again, you're doing it individual scans. So you would, in the case of a person, they would be sitting on a chair and you'd scan, their face, and then you turn them a bit and then scan the other side of their face and then turn them a bit and scan. The same as a turntable scan, except, the object's turning by their own power rather than on the turntable. But yeah, and then, you would merge those scans together in a similar probably using point pick as well. Is that how you did it, Drew? With point pick?
Any scanner is going to have, other than like an entire photogrammetry rig, any scanner is going to have trouble with people because people are, they're fleshy and they move. Even breathing can move. So the challenge is always with any scanner is to make sure that the person is staying still while they're being captured at various angles. Even turning their head, for example, will stretch the skin on someone's neck in a different way. So you just have to be a little bit careful about that.
One thing I'll mention. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay, well, just specifically about that, a lot of people, rightly or wrongly, look at people scanning. It's better to use a handheld. There are pros and cons to using a handheld versus using a stationary scanner like 3 for that. But I will say that if you're scanning someone handheld, they have to stay very still and they can't move. Whereas if you're scanning someone with single shot scans, you can scan, scan their head, scan the side of their face, and they can move around and do stuff and come back and sit and then take another scan of another part of their head. And it won't have changed, right, that much. I mean, if you're talking about breathing, there is a bit of motion there, obviously, but I think like for something like scanning someone's, let's say, someone lost their hand, and so you're scanning the stump of their arm for a prosthetic limb. If you're doing a handheld scan, you're going to have to make sure that person is holding themselves very still for the duration of that scan. Whereas if you're doing it with 3, you can take a scan and it's like 4 seconds, and then they can relax. Then you position the arm in another position or back into the same position, but you move the scanner, take another scan, it's 4 seconds. So really they only have to stay still for 4 seconds at a time. So there are certain advantages to doing it this way that a handheld scanner doesn't have. But then, the handheld scanner might be better for much larger objects. And generally speaking, when I'm talking to people, it's like if all they're doing is scanning really big things, then maybe a handheld scanner is a better choice for them than 3. At least for now. As I said, we have plans, and I can't commit to specifics at the moment, but we have some ideas about how we could make the process of scanning a large object, the workflow, a lot less labor intensive. And so I'll leave it at that, but we do have some plans to improve that.
Okay, one older question here that I've been meaning to get back to is, can you speak to when and how often the scanner needs calibration? I don't know if you'd like to take that one, Trevor, if you want me to.
Sure. So the calibration process is only for the turntable. So if you move, I've calibrated the turntable to do the 2 shoe scans. If I moved the scanner or moved the turntable, I would need to recalibrate the turntable. But that, again, it takes like 20 seconds, so it's not really a big deal. Otherwise, you don't have to calibrate the scanner. It is calibrated in the factory. Because it has these focusable cameras, we had to come up with a routine that would manage that without making it a difficult experience. And so we did that. And once that's done, you don't have to do it again. And Drew, do you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Nope, just that, we give you 2 calibration cards there. They do help a little bit in certain scenes. I don't know if you talked about actually adding the calibration card to the scene.
I did not.
But with that, when you're not using the turntable, if you want extra accuracy, that can help to make sure that everything is aligned and super accurate, you can actually add the calibration card behind the object that you're scanning. The scanner detects it, and it'll actually auto remove it from your scan as well. And that way you can just get that like tiny little bit more accuracy out of it than you could if without it. But you don't need to calibrate the actual scanner itself. That's done in the factory and should last for the rest of your time with the scanner.
Okay, I see there's like 67 things in chat there. Any other questions?
Yeah,
I can answer.
Everyone is writing. It's awesome. You guys are doing great. Keep sending me your questions. I add them to the list. Even if I don't reply to you, I will get to them. Alex is also handling quite a bit of this, so thanks there. One question was, will you develop accuracy upgrades on the software? And I'll just speak quickly to this. Yes, it's definitely on our list, and there's a few things that we'll be looking there. I don't expect you're going to be seeing massive jumps in accuracy in terms of like 33 microns or anything like that, but you will see improvements on quality over time for sure. They're on our lists right now. And then one last one, maybe Trevor can answer. Can you scan a flower? Will it handle the thin petals?
Yeah, I believe so. We actually scanned a leaf for the Kickstarter, and it's it's pretty thin. Yeah, I think that's fine. I don't know, Drew, do you have anything to add to that? I mean, I scanned the leaf and it worked, so I assume we can scan a flower.
Yeah, yeah. The only challenge at the moment is the alignment of things if you're not careful. But for the most places, I've been able to scan fairly thin objects without any challenge. I don't think you're going to scan a piece of paper on both sides. and have it perfect, unless there's you know, some thickness to the paper, but a standard like printer paper is probably going to be too thin. So, but organic shapes like flower petals tend to have varying levels of thickness on the leaves, so that helps a lot too. But we're always happy to try it if you guys are interested. You can, I did do a leaf scan, but I can do a more complete leaf scan if anyone's interested. Just let me know in the chat.
Okay. All right, so let's keep moving here with the scan. So one thing I haven't mentioned, but I've been playing with it here while we've been talking, is the texture opacity. So all this is doing is basically, you know, I captured the scans with texture, with color, and you can actually turn that on and off, or partially on and off, by changing the opacity level. So I've got it 100% here, and you can see the various color photos that are just sort of non-blended over the shoe. And then, of course, you can turn those off. So that's just something. There's a polygon button here. I believe that's going away because I don't think it actually does anything. Okay, so we have our scan. It is more or less complete. There are a few empty spots here, but that's okay. We're going to use the meshing algorithm to fill those holes. So let's go to merge scan. And we will go with all, merge. And so we are presented with 3 steps, only one of which is currently available, and that is step 1, number 1, which is mesh. So we're going to mesh this on a medium level. If any of you are familiar with Poisson algorithms for meshing, you know that there's a breakdown of something called an octree, which is basically a way of gathering the points together into groups and then average the group. So the more groups there are, the smaller they get. You know, the more surface detail you're going to create, but of course, the longer it takes. So the low, medium, and high is really just sort of like a high-level way of describing that. For this scan, at a low resolution, at a low resolution camera scan, which is what we did, a medium resolution mesh gives a nice result. And you can see here that you've got, you know, the patterns on the shoe are coming out. There's a little bump here, and that is actually a pull in the fabric. So you can see the patterns on the shoe, the patterns on the bottom. And so it looks pretty good. You can see the elastic waistband here, or waistband, ankle band around the edge here. So that's looking good. All right, so we have our mesh, and now we have, it's 702, 154,000 polygons. It's 16.07 megabytes. So we can keep it like that, or we can actually reduce this. And I would recommend generally reducing it. So my typical workflow is I will mesh at a medium or a high to get that surface detail. And then I'm going to simplify it down to maybe, I don't know, 100,000, 115,000 polygons. And that just makes the files smaller. It makes it easier to work with for like 3D printing software. It makes it better for texturizing, which is step 3, but it doesn't lose the surface detail. So this is a pretty cool little feature. Now, I think a lot of scanners probably just sort of sweep this all under the rug, and it's like you get your mesh and that's it, or you get your mesh and your texture and that's it. But we found with our old software with MF Studio that people actually really enjoyed having the control to set things the way they wanted them. And so that's the approach we've taken here, is to give people that control. So you can keep it at a 16 meg file and work with it like that, or you can simplify it, and you can see, you know, it's the same more or less. It might be slightly more smoothed out, but it is more or less the same result, but it's just smaller. And then finally, I'm going to texturize this. And what that's going to do is go through the images that it took of the color images it took of the shoe as it was scanning. It applies them across the shoe where they would be, where they were taken from, and it blends the colors together from the different images to make a nice finalized result. So that'll take a minute here. It's getting through the textures right now.
While we're doing that, then we'll just chat quickly about one question, which is to speak to a few of the new feature enhancements that we're considering to add after the production. And I don't know if you want to speak to that, or should I, Trev?
You go ahead. Yeah, that's all you. So you go for it.
Sure. So one of the most major asked for features, and is on our list up actually to start development maybe even next week, is for quad-based meshes. So right now, the mesh that Trevor's showing is a triangle-based mesh. But that's, it's fine for 3D printing, but when you want to bring it into CAD, or you want to do any sort of animation or any other type of work, a quad-based mesh is going to be a lot better. So we have a flow that lets you very easily define the flow of the quad mesh to allow for sort of like a pre-working version of CAD, scan to CAD. It doesn't give you parametrics, but it does give you a quad-based mesh that is very clean and is a really good shape. So perfect for animation and CAD moving forward. That, and there's one other feature which is on the list that have just slipped my mind all of a sudden. Yeah, my goodness. Sorry about that. I'll get back to you.
That happens to me all the time. Anyway. Okay, cool. So, all right, we have our final shoe. It is texturized and the holes are filled and it's good to go. So at this point, we can export it. We click the export button. There are going to be a lot more than 4 file formats to export it as, including, of course, STL and a bunch of new ones like Collada and GLTF. But right now we've got these 4, but you export however, whatever file format you want. And it actually, because you're on a web browser right now, it's going to ask you to download the file. And depending on the browser in your browser settings, it may flag it as, because it's coming from an HTTP website, it's not an HTTPS website, it may flag it as coming from an insecure location, and you can choose whether to keep it or not. And of course, you want to keep that, but that just flags it in the browser for you. Right, so that's how you download it. And as Drew mentioned, so like right now, I'm going to add this to our project. He mentioned this earlier when we were talking about the storage capacity on 3. So we have the 2 scans, group 1, group 2, and then the final result scan -11 there. So that's our final scan. Now it's all part of the project. As Drew mentioned, this as a project, you're going to be able to download this project as well to your computer and later on re-upload it. So if you have, if you've been doing a lot of scanning and you want to save some of the projects off of your scanner and work on them later and free up some space, that's not going to be a problem. All you have to do is download the project and then you can use it later by re-uploading it. Okay, so that is our shoe. Any questions there? I thought I heard you say something.
I just remembered, what was the other thing? I think we're okay to talk about heat maps, right?
Yeah, no problem. Go for it.
So one thing that we've been developing that we haven't spoken about, this is speaking back to the previous question about what's next, is heat map generation. So what this means is that you can actually do some quality assurance and some actual proper metrology within the software without having to remove it. What you would do is you would scan an industrial part. You would then also upload the STL or the CAD file from the original manufacturing file for that part. And in the software, you can align it and it will actually show you a heat map on the deformation between the scan and the actual part itself. And I know that might be interesting to some people because they're talking about scanning industrial parts and wanting to look at caliper measurements and that sort of thing. So yeah, that's something we've been generating on the side, but we're planning to put it into the actual consumer software as well.
Okay. All right. So now I'm going to scan the coin. So we have to set up things slightly differently for that. So I'm going to actually create a new project. Call it AMA coin. Oh, yeah. So something else I want to actually mention. You'll see that there's like a measurement thing here right now. There are going to be facilities to measure your object in the software as well. I don't know if they'll be available on release, but they're some of the higher priority stuff for the software. So, people generally want to be able to measure the scan. I mean, it's a scanner is a measuring device, right? So actually being able to measure what you've measured would be nice. So that's going to be in the software as well. But let me set up for my coin here. So the coin, of course, is a lot smaller than the shoe. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with Canadian $1 coins, but they are like this. They are shiny. So I have actually prepared my coin with a sub spray. It's like 3 is really great, but it is not magic. It can't scan mirrors or shiny things any better than any other scanner. It needs to be coated. So I've set up I've coated it with a sub orange, and I have it here in this little bit of putty to keep it mounted. And this actually helps with the alignment as well. So I'm going to put that on my scan bed. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually move the scanner a little bit more into it, a little bit closer, so that it can actually get in there and capture the details. Let's see what that looks like. Add scan. Okay, so I'm a little bit off here. Move that this way. Oh my God, this lag is killing me. All right, 1 second. I want to restart my browser because this is just killing me.
Poor Trevor always gets the worst bugs for some reason out of all the team.
It's true. I have a talent.
In the meantime, while you're setting that up, there was just a few other questions. One was someone was asking about another calibration option for measuring 2 points like in Fusion 360 and then dimensioning to those 2 points. And I think what I think, if I'm interpreting that correctly, is what you would do when you calibrate a photogrammetry scan. And a photogrammetry scan doesn't have scale. So if you were to scan something with like a car, you don't know whether it's the size of a dinky car or a full size pickup. So you need to be able to scale that up. 3 doesn't need to do that. Your scale is already accurate. What the calibration we do in the factory does is account for lens distortion, accounts for non-spherical aberrations on the lens. It accounts for the different positions of the cameras relative to each other and their angles, as well as even gravity due to the change in gravity on the lens and pulling in different directions. So that calibration is all done. There's actually an accelerometer on the device itself to help with some of this. So that all that's done for you, and you shouldn't need to be able to do that. I'm not sure if I answered your question properly, but the calibration card, he mentions that putting the calibration card behind a scene to give it extra accuracy. That's really just for the cases where you're moving the scanner around a lot, and you might be pointing it straight down and straight up, and the calibration card can kind of help to just make sure everything's like sit in place. To be honest, I never do it. I never need it. My accuracy is perfect the way it is, at least for my flow. But I'm not everyone, so that we wanted to make sure that was in there just in case someone needed it. But you shouldn't need to do any sort of calibration outside of what Trevor's already shown you on the turntable.
Okay, so I'm just setting up my scan here as Drew was talking to you guys, and I'm just gonna pull this back a bit. That's good. Okay.
And there's some questions about scanning small things. Can 3 scan as small as a CNC tooltip, and can you scan an object as small as 4 to 5 millimeters?
I'm not sure how, I mean, CNC tooltip, honestly, I'm not sure how big that is. So I will say this, typically any details that are about 200 microns or smaller kind of are unlikely to be perfectly captured. So the details on the coin they're very small. I don't want to overpromise stuff. I was scanning a coin last week, and I oversprayed it with my A sub spray. And so there was a pool of spray on one spot of the coin, and you could see that in the scan that it was like a little bit too much spray. And we're talking about A sub spray here. This is not thick stuff. So I generally say like 200 microns, 0.2 millimeters. Anything that's smaller than that, you're going to start to lose scan quality, scan accuracy. So 4 to 5 millimeters, you should be fine. But again, it depends on how you scan it, right? Like you have to actually capture the whole thing to get a good quality scan. And It depends on, you know, the shape of it, how you mount it on the turntable, how many scans of it you take. So, you know, if you don't get a good quality scan because you missed half of the object scanning it, then of course it's not going to be accurate. But in terms of the size, 4 to 5 millimeters is fine. Yeah, the tooltip for a CNC machine, I don't know. I don't know how big that is. Yeah. Okay, so right now we're going to scan the coin. And again, we're talking about, you know, being able to focus here. You can see right now the coin is very much not in focus. The focus is still set to where I had it for the shoe. So I need to focus on the coin. So I'm going to move my orange square over the coin and it will focus the camera to that. And I'll just have to live with the lag on my cameras, which is just killing me. There we go. Okay, so now we focused on the coin. Now, one thing that I mentioned earlier is in the advanced settings. If you look at the other, you know, right now we're focused on the coin here for one camera, but if we go to the other one, of course, the square is over here focusing on nothing. So I want to focus both cameras on the coin, but I can't do that in the automated sense. I have to actually separate them. So if you go into advanced settings, you can choose allow individual autofocus, and then you can specify the 2 camera focuses separately. And this will give you, you know, a good result. So now I'm scanning, I'm focusing on the coin here, and then over here, focus on the coin there. So now it's all set up. I have adjusted my projector brightness and my gain and exposure so that it's not turning red. I'm just gonna redo that here. Looks good. So I think 5, I'm not gonna bother with texture because again, it's white. There's no point to capturing the color. I'm going to choose high scan density on this one because I want to cram in as many pixels as I possibly can in there to get the details on there. Because I mean, even looking at it through the camera feed right now, it doesn't really look like there are any details on the coin at all, but they are there. So good. I'm going to start with that. Here we go. Oh, wait, sorry, can't start yet. I got to recalibrate. Okay, so this is a point where actually the smaller card comes in handy. Because of course, if you use the big card with the scanner so close to the turntable, it won't see much of it. So with the smaller card, you actually you can see more of it. So let's go to recalibrate. Continue. There we go. I'm actually going to back that off just a bit. Try to get more of the card in the scene. Go calibrate. And again, this is like, you know, 25 seconds, 20, 30 seconds like that. It's super fast. And I mean, I'm particularly proud of the work that our development, Drew and the development team have done on this. To be honest with you, like I have never seen another calibration process for a scanner that can go between a really medium-sized object like the shoe down to a coin, and it takes 30 seconds. Like this is really special, and I'm really cool. I'm really excited about it. Okay, we're good to go. Let's scan our coin.
While you're doing that, we'll just answer a quick question. Does more light get a better scan?
Not necessarily. Your scan is really down to whether or not your the scene is being overexposed or not. Like if you have a bunch of red in the scene, it's down to the camera resolution you choose based on the size of the object. But yeah, I mean, here's an example of a more extreme situation. Last summer, I was in my front yard in my driveway at 11:30 on a weekday, and I was scanning my car engine. And it's a sunny day, and you know, so I'm scanning outside in the sun, but not exactly. I was actually in the shade of a tree. So if you're in full sun, it's not going to work. It's too bright. If you're focusing spotlights on your scanner and it's like really bright, it's not going to work that well because you're overexposing the whole scene, and it can't actually. All it's going to get back is in terms of the image information that the system's going to be receiving. It's just going to be a bunch of white pixels, so you're not going to see anything. So when I was outside, I was in the driveway scanning my car engine, and I'm in the shade of a tree. And it's 11:30 in the afternoon, in the morning, so it's it's close to noon. The sun is pretty high, and it was a sunny day, but I didn't have any problems. If I moved the scanner to be part of the engine where the sun was shining on it, that didn't scan. But if I kept it on the shaded parts, then it was fine. So yeah, generally speaking, unless you go overboard with your lighting, you will not have any problems with lighting.
Yeah, typically less light is better in the ambient lights space for scanning and capturing. Scanner uses a projector, so that projector is the light that it wants to see. And so the biggest contrast you can get between those two is always going to give you the best. But like Trevor said, the margin there is huge. So you can scan in pretty much any room environment except for full sun.
Okay, so this is just finishing up. It takes a little longer for the high resolution scanner, of course, because the images are exponentially larger than the low resolution scans. But you want to do that for the small things like this. Getting that high resolution, yeah, it helps give you the definition on the scan that you're looking for. Oh, and by the way, just one other thing. I was scanning with my iPad that day last year. So I'm on the Wi-Fi from my house. The scanner's connected to like an extension cord, and I'm on my iPad, which is also connected to Wi-Fi. And it's great. I'm just standing there in front of my car, setting up the scan on the iPad, and away we go. It's pretty great. All right, let's see how our coin looks. Okay, so not bad. Actually, not awesome, to be honest. I think we have a bit of an issue with my alignment. So typically with something really small like this, the alignment is working based on the points and the position of the turntable. But if you don't have a really large object, it helps to add something to the scene to give it more points to scan and align. So this is actually kind of a mess. I'm gonna redo this. Just scan. What I'm gonna do is I want to try to make the piece of clay a little larger. And try it again. Let's do that. And I am going to actually go with 4 steps and just speed things up a bit. Let's see if we get a better result here. Now, I tried this before, of course, before we started the AMA, and it worked perfectly, of course. So naturally, when I'm live, it has problems because that's life, but I think we'll be okay this time.
One question is that does the scanner need to be plugged in, or is there a battery? Can it be used outside an office?
There is no battery. It does need to be plugged in. But you can use it outside of an office if you have something to plug it into. Drew,
Early in the camp. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask you, wasn't there like some kind of like off-the-shelf power pack thing that we were looking at where you could plug it into, like it's like a portable power pack that you could plug in an appliance to?
There are. I never tried it out. Early in the campaign, there was the same question, and I released the specs for the power consumption. So in case anyone was electronically inclined to, provide that power to the unit, we do give you an extra long power cord for the DC converter. It's over 1 meter in length. I think it's almost 2 meters. So don't quote me on that. But so that's been more than enough for me, but that's me. I'm not everyone, like I said. So if if someone needs something extra, and if there's like an overwhelming amount of people who need a battery pack, we can always test some of these out for people and see if there's anything that we could recommend. Oh, so what's the wattage? So the wattage is so the DC converter is actually rated 12 volt, 5 amps. I know that sounds crazy. It does not use that much power. We just over-engineer things in some ways just to make sure that everyone's good. in reality, it's closer to the peak draw is like 2.5 to 3 amps at 12 volts, and that's only during like really heavy processing times right after the end of a scan. We can always provide more information about this if anyone's super interested. One somebody's asking to maybe just scan this coin as a single pose, but maybe you could turn off to just show a single scan there, Trev.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know why I'm having this trouble right now. As I said, when I did this before, it was fine. But let's take a look at one of the faces. I'm trying to figure out the two faces here. That's okay. So there's one side of the coin here. You can see Elizabeth II's face in 2014. And then, of course, I'll check the other side here is this. No, not that side. This side. There we go. So there's the loon and the dollar and the Canada. So I'm going to actually put both of those on. Yeah, they're not aligned. So sorry about that. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go off script here for a second. Not that I have a script, but I'm going to see if I can actually. No, never mind. Okay, so let's just mesh this and see what the result looks like. So I'll do both sides separately. That one. Okay, so we're going to go high on that remesh. Let's take a look at what that looks like. In a second, after we take a look at this, I'm going to bring up the coin that I did earlier today. Same coin, same scanner, same room, everything the same, just no audience. So of course it worked.
Trevor's knack for finding bugs.
Yeah, it's a real talent. When I started my career, I worked in tech support, and I would, get called over to people's computers who were having a problem with their computer, and they would say, I did, this, and this, and that's the thing I'm supposed to do, and it didn't work. And then I'd be like, okay, well, I would do that, and that same things. And of course it would work for me. And they'd be like, I don't understand. I did it. Why is it different for you? And I'm like, I don't know. And so, the roles seem to have changed now. Now I get to be the person that does the thing and it doesn't work. And then someone else comes over and does it and it works fine. So yeah, that's just how it goes sometimes. Okay, so this is, of course, it's creating this extra stuff around the coin because it's a single layer of points, but you can see the results here are pretty good. You've got all the dots along the edge of the coin, and you can see Canada and the loon here, and the trees in the background. This is dollar here, so pretty solid, pretty nice.
These are less than 200 microns engravings or embossing on the Canadian loonie.
Yeah.
Just in case anyone wants reference, it's very similar to the American penny.
So I don't know if you can see that in the camera if it's focused on there, but like that's what we're scanning, right? Like it is very, very subtle. And yeah, it's a good point. The embossing is, I don't even know. It's tiny, really tiny. So, pretty happy with that. I'm going to do the other side now.
You want to just show the project that you had before?
Sure. Yeah. Why don't I do that? Open this up. Did I do it? Did I do it here? I think I did it here. Yeah. Okay. So there we go. That was the scan I did earlier. You can see it like actually aligned properly. And if I merge that.
So we're getting close to the end here. If there's anybody who like a question, please feel free to leave it in the chat here. I don't have any on my list, so if anyone's got a burning question or a comment they'd like to make, let us know now. I've also left our email in the chat there. It's info@matterinformed.net. So if there's anything you guys want to ask or forgot to ask, please send us an email, and Alex gets those directly, and we'll respond to you as soon as we can. One person's asking, why does software close automatic, which was open hole. I think you're talking about the meshing. Why is it closing holes automatically in meshing? Do you want to speak to that, Trev, or should I?
Go ahead. Yeah, why don't you go ahead? Well, two things. Actually, I said go ahead. Now I'm going to do it. Sorry. It depends on the meshing that you're doing. In this meshing, it does close the holes. But in the previous screen, so actually, we'll just take a look at this. In the previous screen, in this screen, so there we go. You've got your coin. See 2014, Elizabeth II, and there's her hair and head. And then, of course, you got the Canadian dollar here on the other side. So this is what my scan this morning looked like. Same coin, same scanner. I have no idea why this one didn't work, but as Drew said, I have a talent for finding bugs. In terms of meshing, when you're in the merge setup screen, this screen here, we do the watertight meshes. It's the meshing algorithm basically groups the points and kind of interpolates them into the final result. And by part of that, it's filling in holes. Although not always, it depends on the situation. Like, for example, the bottom of this scan had a hole in it because, of course, I didn't scan the bottom of this. I just scanned around the edges. And so that, because it's a very large hole, it doesn't get filled. It creates this kind of canopy kind of cowling around it. On the other screen, if I go back to that, this screen, this is just the scans. And this is the raw data from the scanner that's created the individual scans. And when you export this, you are getting it has a basic mesh here. It doesn't interpolate the data. It just uses the direct points from the scan. When you export this, it does not come out hole filled. So this is the raw data with holes. So you can choose to do either one, and so that you have both options.
Can you quickly show how to remove the clay?
Oh, sure, yeah. So let's do that.
Just quickly, just an example of how you might do it.
Delete. And this one.
Great.
There we go. Done. Of course,
and then there's a few people that missed the update on EMC and production shipping. Do you want to give a quick recap on that before we go?
Of course, yeah. So so we are, unfortunately, things took longer than we had hoped. You supported us on Kickstarter, and as I started on the beginning of the call, we deeply appreciate your support. We had promised, of course, that we put best foot forward, and we had expected that we could be shipping in January when they did the Kickstarter, and then we ran into delays with getting the certifications. So electrical magnetic interference, all of those kind of certifications, and unfortunately, that has taken longer than we had hoped. And so we finally, a few weeks ago, got confirmation that all the tests are passed and we're good to go. And so manufacturing actually started about 3 weeks ago, and we expect to start assembling at some point in the next 5 weeks, and delivery starts shipping out in June. So your scanners are actually going to be shipped directly to you from their factory. So there's not going to be it doesn't have to go to a warehouse in your country and then go from there to your house. It's just going to go directly to you from the factory. So there are no major hurdles that I am aware of standing in the way of us shipping in June at this point. I want to touch wood when I say that, because you're inviting disaster when you say things like that. But we have no reason to believe that there should be further delays. But there has been a delay from the original date, and then of course we talked about March in the Kickstarter updates. And that, of course, has been delayed as well. And part of the reason why we wanted to have this AMA today is to address that, because, of course, it's taking longer, and we wanted to just have a more personal conversation where we could answer your questions rather than just doing an update, as well as show what you can expect to receive when you get your 3. So that's the status right now. But as far as we know, which is pretty far, we should be delivering in June, and we're really excited to do that.
A question about shipping. Which carrier?
It depends. There isn't necessarily one carrier that we're going to use for every country in the world. It will depend on what's available for the particular place that it's going to, and what the costs are for the shipping. We're going to ship air. Of course, we're not going to put it on a boat and you can get it in 2 months. But whether it's UPS or Hong Kong Post or Canada Post or DHL or FedEx, it will depend on where it's going and the parameters. The shipping parameters change daily. It's always changing. So we'll do whatever's expedient and cost effective at the time.
All right.
Is that it?
Yeah,
Great.
lots of love. You guys are amazing. I can't say this enough, but how much we've been doing this for a long time, and the backers have always been a core part of us making stuff. We are a small team. We're not like some big company, and you guys have always been such great supporters. Even if you're a new supporter for us now or been a long-term supporter, it really is the thing that has kept me personally here working hard, and really enjoy my job. And when I get to speak to you guys, it kind of gives me the feels. So thank you for everyone. I love to hear all of your questions and your comments, and it's been great chatting with everyone. We are going to put out some more updates. There's been a request for that, so we'll definitely do that. We'll update the timeline. People want us to scan some industrial parts. We'll do that, and some plastic shells, maybe some clay sculptures, that sort of thing. So we'll show more scans in the upcoming, including the raw scan, the mesh, and some photos of each one, because I think everyone's really interested in seeing how it'll perform over that. And I hope everyone looks forward to getting their scanner in a couple of months.
Thanks, Drew. And yeah, I'll just reiterate everything Drew said. It's from a personal perspective, being able to do this is really like a dream, a lifetime dream, right? Like I love my job. I love the people that I work with. We're all really, as Drew said, we're a tiny team, and we are all really dedicated to making these products and making them not just another scanner, but something that's actually really different, really empowering. We're very creative people, all of us, and we like making stuff that lets other people, realize their creative visions as well. So I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. I'm, incredibly grateful for the support that you guys have given us on Kickstarter. And, all I can say is thank you. Thank you again. Thank you for your patience while we have to make a little bit more of a production delay, but again, it shouldn't be anymore. It should be June. There's nothing really in the way of that. So it's been awesome talking to you this afternoon. For those of you in the future who are looking at this, I hope that you enjoyed what you watched. And again, if you have questions, you can always email us at support@matterinformed.net, and we will be happy to answer those questions for you. Whether you have questions about how 3 works or a technical support question, or just any questions about the product. And with that, I think that's all we have. So thanks again for joining us, and have a very pleasant rest of your day.